What's good? Sac passe, que pasa, wagwan, and all that good stuff. I am Miss Mac Anomaly, and welcome to my channel. And today I will be reviewing the Clark Sisters movie and their album. Now, their album came out March 13th of this year, and the movie released tonight at 8/7 Central on Lifetime. Then I can't trust you. I cannot trust you whatsoever. So I will give you the premises of this movie and my opinions of the movie and the album, which I will do later. But I will now introduce the cast names.
My entire self forgot to add Anjanou Ellis as Maddie Morris Clark. She did the daggone thing, y'all. She really did.
Angela Burchett as Jackie Clark Chisholm. Raven Goodwin as Denise Clark Bradford, who is no longer in the group. Christina M. Bell as Twinkie Clark Terrell, formerly known as Terrell. The queen of the Hammond B3, my personal favorite. Shalea Frazier as Dorinda Clark Cole. And Kiara Sheard, who is playing her mother, Karen Clark Sheard.
My daughter, Kiara Sheard.
See, I've been cool with Kiara ever since her No Never Day. How can I make it without you? How can I do it without you? No, never, never. I'm not a singer, don't judge me. I just enjoy that song. That song's my whole childhood, and I know she had an album before that.
I also forgot to mention that the executive producers of this movie are award-winning artists Queen Latifah, Missy Elliott, and Mary J. Blige.
I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I had my teacup ready. I have my lovely tea ready. I have my popcorn that I just finished ready. And I filled my teacup twice. Okay. First and foremost, I took notes, y'all. I got my notes ready. I loved the opening of this movie. The movie, by the way, is called The Clark Sisters, the First Lady of Gospel, and is the very first gospel artist to have their own biopic. And I think that's a phenomenal milestone. Now I'm going to review this movie. First, I loved the opening when they were singing in the church and Maddie Morris Clark was there. I liked that. I liked it a lot. It's a great opening to me. And the way that Anjanou Ellis played Maddie Morris Clark, I have nothing but respect for her for that. She literally killed that role. She talked just like her. Her mannerisms was just like her. And I loved the way that they did the beginning. And fast forward a little bit to the scene where Denise and Jackie were arguing. Now, I knew this information already. I knew they had, Denise and Jackie had tension because I actually watched Larry Reid's interview with Denise Clark Bradford. And I thought it was a rather interesting, yet funny, yet sad at the same time because there was 4 parts, but Larry took down the 4th part.
Quick update, y'all. Larry Reid re-uploaded the 4th interview he did with Denise Clark Bradford last year in April.
If y'all want to tune into Larry Reid live on Mondays at 7 Eastern Standard Time, do that, because I'm finna do that too. A lot of her issues, a lot of Denise's issues, in my opinion, are with Jackie. Not really the other sisters, but mainly Jackie. When Denise said, I'm the firstborn Clark, you're a Cullum. See, I already knew this information. I knew that Jackie was not biologically a Clark and that she's biologically a Cullum, along with their brother Leo, who I didn't see in the movie. And that's one issue I have. I didn't see, even though it's not the life of him because he's not a sister, but it'd be cool to see how he was portrayed because he comes off as very neutral. He doesn't want no parts. He doesn't want to be in a house full of women. I understand. And the father, the pastor of the church, and another thing that was missing is that the church that Pastor Clark had was called Berea Church of God in Christ. And I'm not raised Kojic. I don't know the ins and outs of the Kojic church. If I make false information, I really apologize. I was not raised Kojic. I was raised Baptist and Pentecostal hybrid. I know Kojic is Pentecostal, but I wasn't raised specifically in a Kojic church. I want y'all to get the gist of it because I've studied the Clark sisters, the ins and outs. Some things I don't know, which is why I watched the movie. A lot of stuff I did know. And one of them was that Jackie's biologically not a Clark, she's a Cullum, along with their older brother Leo. And that's what Denise said in her interview with Larry Reid, that she is the firstborn biological Clark. And she was so petty, she said, I am first clarksister@gmail.com. 1ST clarksister@gmail.com. That was hilarious. And when I saw the scene with Maddie Morris Clark and she threw that shoe at that gumshoe, she threw that shoe, she was like, I was like, oh my gosh, because I heard rumors about that too. I heard rumors about Maddie Morris Clark throwing shoes and she yelled at that girl. She said, "Spit out that gum, spit out that gum." I was dead. And then she said, "You might, you might." I was so, oh my gosh. I'm like, this sounds just like Maddie Morse Clark, because I did my fair share of research on her. She's a very interesting person, and I'm telling you, she is maestro. Okay, that's where Twinkie got her influence from her mother. That's the scene later on in the movie, a little bit later, was when Pastor Clark, he was in the room with Dr. Morse Clark, and he came off as abusive. Now, I saw that segment in the unsung episodes that the Clark sisters did years ago, and Jackie made claims that he was abusive. But when I saw the interview with Denise and Larry Reid, she said that he was not abusive. So I don't know if that's a fabrication. I don't know. And the scene that Jackie got slapped by the Pastor Clark, I don't know. And that low-key scared me. But I should have expected it because I've heard about this information. And I'm sorry, but every time they talk about Jackie being a nurse, I'm sorry, I just had to giggle. I know Jackie's a nurse, but I just had to giggle because of inside jokes. So... And I love, one thing about Maddie Morse Clark that I really love is I love her sarcasm. Her sarcasm was on point. She was so sarcastic. And it's like, I legit love that about her. She may be strict, she may come off as stern, she may come off as mean, but one thing that I can see is that she was very sarcastic, and I live for her sarcasm. And for those of y'all who don't know, the guy in the studio that was talking to Maddie Morse Clark and doing the sound productions when they were singing in the studio, that's Bill Moss, and that's Maddie Morse Clark's brother, and that's also gospel artist Jay Moss's father. See, Jay Moss and the Clark sisters are first cousins on his father's side and their mother's side. That I already knew too. I also didn't realize how shy Karen was, because I know Twinkie's comes off as a very shy person because I watched Jackie's videos. See, I watch a lot of their videos. See, I watched Jackie's videos, and she said that Twinkie came off as very shy, very nonchalant, and non-confrontational. I didn't know Karen was like that. And I really did like the record store scene where the girls were really hyped up and that they reached number 20 on the charts. And they were like, "Do you know that this is us? We reached number 20 on the chart." So I really liked that scene. I also like the scene that they were wearing pink because I watched several clips of them, like the real them on YouTube, wearing those pink outfits and that poofy hair, and they were singing different songs like "Is My Living in Vain" or "Name It and Claim It," and all those songs like that. And I really, really loved the fact that they incorporated that Dorinda scene when she was talking about getting high. You don't need no reefer. You don't need no reefer.
I want the Bay Area to know one thing, that I'm an addict, I'm addicted to God's word, I'm a drunker, cause I get drunk in the spirit, I'm hooked too, hooked to something I can't turn loose, I got a habit, my habit is I can't stop serving my God, I'm a pusher too, cause I have pushed God's word, I be tripping too, instead of strips on LSD, I take them with G.O.D., and it takes me high. And it lights my fire. Woo! Hallelujah. You don't need no reefer. Some of y'all looking at me funny, you may be guilty, but you don't need no reefer. All you need is Jesus. Let me see your hand, you know what I'm talking about. Say yes. Yes.
That took me out. That took me out. And I'm so glad that they put that in the movie because that was very funny. Some things that I want to talk to y'all about. Some things that I was addressed about Denise in the movie, I didn't really like it. It rubbed me the wrong way because, especially after I listened to the interview with Larry Reid and was able to listen to Denise's side and to watch this movie, I would not be surprised if Denise comes back out the woodworks and starts saying stuff, talking about this and how they portrayed her, and they portrayed her poorly in her opinion. But everyone, the Clark sisters and Denise, have a right to tell their side of the story. And there's two sides of the story. Some things that they said, it didn't sit well with me. Some things that they did in the movie pertaining to Denise, it didn't sit well with me. Like, I don't know how true that Maddie Morse Clark would smack Denise. Maybe she did. I don't know. I wasn't there. Obviously, I wasn't born. But I'm just trying to see why certain things just rub me the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Another thing that I had an issue with was that it wasn't sequential, because that whole scene when they were singing A Praying Spirit and they were in the church. So A Praying Spirit came out in 1978, and that clip where they were wearing pink came out in 1982. I didn't like that they were not sequenced a certain way. If the whole thing fell in order, I would like that better. But it wasn't totally sequenced properly. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't sequenced properly. And another thing is, oh my gosh, the shoes again. Like when Maddie Moss Clark threw the shoe again, I was like, oh, here it goes. And the J. Drew scene. I low-key cringed because like the concept of Kiara playing her mother and just seeing how her father was being portrayed. That's rather interesting, but it was also funny to me because Twinkie let her little jokes and had Karen sing for him and da-da-da-da. It was interesting. And one thing I did not know that Twinkie sold her catalog. But I do know that Twinkie did go solo back in the early 80s because she had her song Power, Power More. I knew that she had her own, albums, her own projects, her own solo projects and whatnot. That I knew already, but I did not know that she sold her whole catalog. Never do that. I advise anyone who's going to the industry, never sell your catalog. They will do you dirty. A lot of these record labels will do you dirty. And Twinkie is a songwriter. She's literally the backbone of the group. Like, there's no Clark sisters without Twinkie. And Dorinda, when she said, "You got this big old ugly dress on," Dorinda's the fashionista of the group. She has her own clothing line. She likes her dresses and her hats. She's the elder's wife. Speaking of elder, I didn't mention this before, but the scenes with Greg and Herb, they were kind of funny. They were kind of cute too. And I really did love You Brought the Sunshine. Now, call me nitpicky, but when Twinkie was singing that part of the song, "You gave me peace, you gave me grace," she forgot to say peace. She said, "You gave me grace." She didn't say peace. It's peace and then grace. And then they just went into, "You put a smile up on my face." I don't know. Maybe I'm just picky. I don't know. But I just wish that they put that part in. And I loved how they were hyped up for the Grammys and how they were nominated for the Grammys. And they were performing at the Grammys. And that was Maddie Morse's Clark last performance with the Clark sisters on stage. Or I guess ever. That I knew about too. I knew that Maddie Morse Clark could not perform with the sisters anymore. That's not new information to me. And I don't like how they portrayed Denise to be extremely defiant because according to what Denise said in her interview with Larry Reid, she said, "I left the group because I didn't like the mistreatment that I was going through, having kids out of wedlock," because she has 7 boys total. And another thing that kind of bothered me was that her oldest son, Larry Clark, was born in the 70s. So she had several kids out of wedlock while being in the group. So it's like, you portrayed Larry to be born in like the 80s, but he was born in like 70 something. This dude is like 45. I follow Larry Clark on social media, so I know. And the Twinkie scene was familiar, okay? I knew that Twinkie wanted to branch out and do her own thing and start a family and whatnot. I knew that already. But I didn't know Big John was abusive because Twinkie has a son, his name is John John. So I didn't know that Big John was abusive towards her. But they stayed married for a while. They got a divorce. I guess they're cool now. But it is what it is.
I would also like to add that Twinkie had an album that she recorded in 1995 alongside with her sisters and the Florida A&M Gospel Choir back in 1995, and in 1996 the album was released.
And the hospital scene, when they were at the hospital, that was sad. That was really sad. Twinkie wasn't there, and Twinkie wasn't able to go because she, went to North Carolina. I knew that already. I knew that she went to North Carolina. She relocated to, was it the Charlotte area? I knew that already. And I already knew about the funeral scene. The funeral scene was actually on YouTube. And I know that video was taken down. I don't know if it's the Clark sisters' order to take it down, but that video was taken down and Denise was just cutting up at the funeral. I don't know how accurate they were portraying it, but Denise definitely did go up there and just said, "I'm the oldest Clark sister, this is my mother," and whatnot. I knew that happened. I knew that happened already, so that's not new information to me. And I also knew about Sir Dorinda's suicide attempt because she also talked about this on their Unsung episode that they did years back. She talked about how she tried to commit suicide, and then when she got down on her knees thanking the Lord for saving her from the suicide attempt, and I just wanted y'all to be clear that that was a suicide attempt. And when I tell you about this whole 2% chance thing, I was like, oh, here it goes. So I was very familiar with that because that was in 2001. So in 2002, Karen Clark Sheard dropped an album afterwards called Second Chance. And that was based off of her experience in the hospital. And I did like the ending. I liked the ending when they were, preparing to sing, the Blessed and Highly Favored song. I really do like that song. Now with the album review. And the album is called The Return, and it dropped March 13th of this year. And the first track is called Been So Good. I actually like this song, but it came off more to me as a Dorinda song than the Clark Sisters song. And what I mean by that, this is a very Dorinda sounding song. If anyone knows anything about Dorinda, Dorinda is the jazzy sister. The song gave me a very jazzy vibe to it. It sounds like a Dorinda song. It should have, in my opinion, it should have just been a Dorinda song and not a Clark Sisters song. So to me, it was like Dorinda featuring the sisters. And the second song is called Give It To Him. It's a catchy song. It's a good song. I like it. I like the modulation. And which, if y'all don't know what modulation is, when songs, go up, it's called a modulation. That's called a modulation. I like the modulation of the song. Some songs I hate the modulation. This was a good fit. And Give It To Him was led by Karen Clark Sheard and Dorinda Clark Cole. The third song is God Loves You. When I tell you, this hurts my heart to even say this because I am a Twinkie Clark fan, okay? But I did not like how her voice was arranged. And the part where she said kids in Africa starving, that didn't sit well with me because I'm the type of person, well, you have starving people everywhere. Why Africa? You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to shade Twinkie. I don't know who wrote the song. Maybe Twinkie did. But that part didn't sit well with me. Especially because a lot of parts of Africa are actually very wealthy. And Twinkie led that song. His Love featuring Snoop Dogg. That's number 4. I like the beat. But I have to get used to Snoop Dogg being a rapper doing Christian music than him being a gangster rapper. Than him being Snoop Dogg, yeah, dog. I have to get used to him, being on gospel artist records because I don't have any issues with secular artists, making collaborations with Christian artists. I have no issues with that. That happens all the time. But as for Snoop Dogg, I have to get used to him being a rapper on gospel artists and Christian artists album than him being a gangster rapper. You know what I'm saying? Because we know him as a gangster rapper, being a Crip. I'm not trying to diminish his role, but that's how I used to, Snoop Dogg. Oh yeah, and His Love is led by Karen Clark Sheard and Dorinda Clark Cole. The 5th song is called He Can. And I find it refreshing to hear, Jackie leading a song because Jackie doesn't really lead songs like that. Jackie's more singing the melody and she has the lower notes. Her and Dorinda are the altos of the group. And Jackie's alto is a bit lower than Dorinda's. So it's kind of refreshing to hear Jackie lead a song. And I liked how it was arranged. Number 6, we declare victory. Victory over your life. I like that song, but I feel like it's not fitting for our first single because that dropped on Karen and Twinkie's birthday. And if y'all don't know, Karen and Twinkie are 6 years apart and they have the same birthday. And the ones who lead it are Karen and Dorinda. But I really don't feel like that song should have been a single. If it was a single, maybe a 3rd or 4th single, but not the first single. Because I feel like a first single should come out with a bang. You know what I'm saying? Number 7, it's More. I do like the instrumental. The instrumental reminds me of a 90s type of Clark Sister beat. But I don't like the little zzz in the instrumental. That was annoying. I didn't like that. But I do, however, like the switching of the instrumental because it would switch from time to time. I like that. But I didn't like the little zzz. I didn't like that. If you listen to the song, you understand what I'm saying. I don't like the little zzz. Not my cup of tea. But that was led by Karen and Dorinda. 8 is You Shall Receive. It's not bad. It's like a jazzy slow jam. I like it. I like slow jams and I like jazzy songs. So that was fitting. And that was led by Karen and Dorinda. Well, Dorinda. She'll sing the jazzy ones. That's her thing. She's the one who scats and moans a lot in her songs. So that's her thing. Props are, I like Dorinda's music. Nobody. Nobody was produced by Rodney Darkchild Jerkins, and it sounds like it would be produced by Rodney Darkchild Jerkins. Because it sounds like a song that will come off of Brandy's Full Moon album or Michael Jackson's Invincible album because it has that futuristic sound that Darkchild used. I don't know if he archived it from back in the 2000s and decided to use it in 2019 and 2020. But I did like the song. It was a very refreshing thing to hear, Dark Child's futuristic beat. I like it. All of them led, but mainly Dorinda and Karen sang lead on Nobody. And number 10, my personal favorite, is Masterpiece. Now, when I tell you Jermaine Dupri did his thing, he did his thing. I knew it was Jermaine Dupri before I even was able to listen to the lyrics. I knew it. And then when he said, y'all know what this is, I was waiting for him to say, so, deaf. But but overall, and it's also refreshing to hear all of them, sing leads. Like, that's literally my go-to song right now. Like, that's a bomb. And I'm glad that they're trying to make that another single. And I also hate how short Masterpiece is. Number 11 is Broken to Minister. Now, it's a nice song, but it sounds more like a Karen Clark Sheard song. It sounds more like it would be on the Heavens Are Telling album. Now, if anyone knows anything about the Heavens Are Telling album, I really do like that album. But that to me was very fitting because it gives me a very early 2000s vibe. That to me, that sound, it's kind of refreshing to hear, but I felt like that would be more of a Karen Clark Sheard song, especially if it was created back in 03 on the Heavens Are Telling album, because that sounds like it is a perfect fit for that album. Number 12 is Power. Now, I do like the instrumental for Power. I thought it would sample Twinkie's song Power, because Twinkie did a song back in the day called Power, and I do like that song. And I really thought it was going to sample Twinkie's song. But it did sample a song, and it was Mary J. Blige's No More Drama, which I actually do like that song. And it's also refreshing to hear Jackie lead. Even though the sisters did their thing and they sang some parts, Jackie mainly led that song, and I really do like how Jackie sounds. And I feel like a lot of people discredit Jackie's singing. Come on, I like how Jackie sounds. She has a very, very low, chill voice. She doesn't growl as much as her sisters do. I have no issues with growling, but that's what makes Jackie unique. She doesn't growl as much as her sisters do. Now, this one should have been the first single in my opinion. The 13th track is called Good Favor. Now, Kurt Carr did his thing with this track. He did what he had to do, and I really, really loved it. Because it was very up-tempo, upbeat, you want to dance to it, and all the sisters was able to sing parts, and it will give you it was a mixture of a new school and old school Clark Sisters vibe, and I really, really do like it. So overall, I'll give this album a 7 out of 10, because it was a great album, but some songs needed to be tweaked. Like God Loves You needed to be tweaked in my opinion. I felt like Donald Lawrence or Jay Moore should have done some of the producing, because they added, not newer producers, but like newer type producers. Like, I know Rodney Jerkins worked with Kierra Sheard before, you don't know like I. No, that's my song. That's my song, y'all. When I tell you I like Kierra Sheard's music, Yo, speaking of Kierra Sheard, go stream Don't Judge Me with Missy Elliott. That's a fire song. Y'all better. Some of the songs, overall, I really do like this album. 7 out of 10. And I feel like some songs needed to be tweaked, and 2 of the songs needed to be a solo song because it's more fitting as a solo song in my opinion. But overall, it's a pretty solid album. It's not my favorite album, and I do not like the album cover. It looks way too cheesy in my opinion. I don't like how the album cover looks. From the backdrop to the makeup, the outfits were okay, but I don't like the cover. However, I do love the cover for Victory, which is why I use it as my thumbnail. It's literally perfect. The black, I don't know, I love black, but the black, the blonde hair and all that stuff, I know Twinkie didn't have blonde hair, but that's fine. But overall, I did enjoy this movie. I did really like the album. And the Clark sisters are absolutely legends. They influenced so many artists, from Mariah Carey to Beyonce to Faith Evans. And sometimes some artists sample their work, and a lot of artists cover their work. From Coco to Escape, they covered, some of the Clark sisters' music. And that shows you how impactful the Clark sisters are. But without Denise or with Denise, the Clark sisters impacted the music industry, both gospel and secular, both Christian and secular. We love them. Okay, we appreciate their music, we appreciate their legacy and their impact that they put in the music world. And I really do appreciate them. My favorite album of all time from the Clark sisters was You Brought the Sunshine. Hands down, period, point blank, best Clark sister album out there. They did several songs, from Endow Me to A Prayer. From, obviously, You Brought the Sunshine. There's so many songs that the Clark sisters did. it's ridiculous, and they get sampled, and it's absolutely, absolutely phenomenal that they were able to hold out for so long in this industry, still get respected, still get replayed, and for generations like my generation to know who they are. This movie to me was a great introduction of who they are to my generation. Even though I knew about the Clark sisters already. I've been listening to Clark sisters pretty much my entire life. I love their music. But this to me was a great introduction to people who are not familiar with the Clark sisters' work, and that I feel like people need to realize that the Clark sisters, call me biased, okay, towards them, but I try to be unbiased as possible. But I feel like the Clark sisters needs more respect, especially Twinkie. Because let me tell you something, Twinkie put her blood, sweat, and tears into that group, from writing to playing the organ, and from Sunday to Sundays, from, getting her sisters on track, being the backbone of the Clark sisters, from ripping and running from city to city with the mother. Absolutely respect Twinkie, and I feel like people need to realize that they need to give Twinkie Clark her roses. And another part that was missing in the movie was the death of their father. I don't know their relationship with their father afterwards, but according to Denise, she wasn't able to make it because they buried him before she got there, and that's when she was living in Maryland. So that's another thing that kind of didn't sit well with me, was that they didn't show, but I don't know their relationship with their father, so I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, you should have done this, but that would be something that's interesting, in my opinion. And their father died in 2001. And on top of that, Jackie's husband recently died a few months ago, so RIP to him, and prayers to the Chisholm family.
Another thing that didn't sit well with me was the fact that they casted a dark-skinned girl to play Denise. Now, in no way, shape, or form am I shading Raven Goodwin, but Denise is not dark-skinned. None of the sisters were dark-skinned. They were pretty much the same complexion. And all the other people who played the sisters and the person who played the mother look almost just like them. And Denise looks nothing like Raven. I'm just saying. No shade towards Raven.
Another thing that I know they have children. Okay, I know some of the children didn't want to be portrayed. We all know Kiara is Karen's daughter, but she wasn't portrayed as a kid. And I know it's not as, the sisters movie individually. It's the sisters movie as a collective. But it would be nice to see, some of their children. But they did show Denise's children in the movie, which is cool. But that's all I have to say about this review. I hope you enjoyed this review. I try to contain myself because I really was waiting for this movie for a long time. Like a long time, when Wendy Williams came at them sideways saying, oh, they don't have any, they didn't win anything, me and the church were livid, okay? First of all, Wendy, you should have sat there and ate your food. You should not have said anything, because they don't bother anyone. Not a soul. And Kiara Sheard read her for the filth, and I was here for it. That's all I have to say about this. I hope you guys were able to watch it, because this is a spoiler. I hope y'all are able to watch it. Enjoy the movie. I hope you like it. Like the older folks say, show some sign. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on social media at Miss Mac Anomaly. Do all that stuff. And I'll see y'all in my next video. Bye.